The term prepper gets kind of a bad vibe to it sometimes. But there's more to it than just the name or the word prepper. That's what we're going to talk about in this episode of the Range Minded Podcast. Are you prepared? Stay tuned. Hey, welcome back to the Range Minded Podcast. Just like the intro said, we're going to talk about preparedness. Now, this is not in any way, shape, or form some kind of a comprehensive list of things that you should be doing. This is just kind of a conversation that we're having. This could evolve as we go deeper into this conversation. And mind you, what I have to say, I'm not really a prepper. Do I have things to keep me prepared for the future? Yeah, absolutely. But what I wanted to talk about in this episode is just to maybe have you think a little bit more outside the box. Maybe you haven't thought as deep about it as you should have. This is going to be a fun episode, I hope. I'm hoping to make these things a little bit lighter, at least this episode a little bit lighter. The last few shows have been kind of heavy, kind of thick, and I want to lighten it up a little bit. I want to have some fun with this episode. Again, this is just my opinion. This is not something that I think you should be taking as preparedness doctrine by any means. So first thing we got to do to relax, and this is not part of preparedness. In fact, these things don't keep very long. That's right. I haven't had one of these in a while. My son brought me up one last week. I guess this weekend we went and saw my mom. Anyway, my son brought me a drink because we went down there. So this is the old Bundaberg, the best ginger beer ever made. Product of Australia, by the way. I don't drink alcohol. Never have, actually. So I don't have that vice. That's something that maybe we should talk about in this episode. I don't have that vice or that addiction that I need to feed. But this is the closest thing I'll get to it. This is not alcoholic, but man, these are so good. It's been a while since I had one. Oh, that's so good. If you like ginger beer, you got to try that out. Obviously, they are not a sponsor of this show, but it is a product that I absolutely love. All right. I'm not going to get into like things like food storage. Maybe we'll touch on that a little bit. We're not going to talk about team building. Actually, maybe we will a little bit there too. But there's things that you need to think about in a situation. Okay. Now, all of us have seen, unless you've lived in a rock, under a rock, not in a rock, whatever, the devastation that our neighbors in Tennessee and North Carolina are seeing with Hurricane, whatever her name was. I mean, it just wiped out communities, right? As that storm came in, swerved north from Florida, went straight up north through those rural areas. Record amounts of rain, high winds, and just devastation like they haven't seen maybe ever. I don't know. I mean, think about that. You have high winds, tons of rain. The rivers are overflowed. And then because of the huge amounts of moisture, you're getting mudslides down these hollers, burying communities, and everything's gone, right? Cities completely wiped out. Families missing loved ones that they'll probably never find the bodies of. It's terrible. It's so sad. That being said, if you have a way to help out in any way possible, please find a good organization that you can donate to. But as we're thinking about this, and I think I've mentioned before, watching the Ukraine conflict, Ukraine war, whatever you want to call it, I've started to think a little bit differently about my personal security and security of my family. The United States is not what it was 5 years ago. It's a totally different place. It seems like there's so much social pressure going on that when we have these events, like these hurricanes that are happening currently, that between our financial pressures, our political pressures, and then having these environmental tragedies all compounded into one, that it's like a bursting point, right? And when people get stressed out, they do crazy, crazy things. So Helene, I knew the hurricane would come back to me. Sorry, total minute. So Hurricane Helene, as it came down and just devastated these communities, right? People, because they've lost everything, they become desperate. And I'm not saying like desperate in necessarily a negative term, because I know if I was in that situation and I had to provide for my family, I would probably do things that were out of the norm. If there was absolutely no food to feed my children, especially, think about families with babies. As a dad, as the provider, you're going to do whatever it takes to keep your family alive. Now, I know I said this wouldn't be as heavy of a show. I guess I lied to you. But I want you to think about that as you start to generate and criticize your home safety plan. We're seeing things in a different light if you're actually paying attention. Hopefully you are. So the reason why I say desperate people do crazy things, like there's stories of people that lived in these hollers, now that they're homeless and hungry and have very little supplies, they're raiding people that do have these supplies. And I can't say that I blame them. Like, I understand it. It doesn't mean it make it right, but I understand the logic of them wanting to have something to help their families. So as we think about that in a grander scale, imagine this was on a much larger scale. If it was in a large city where you have a lot of desperate people that may not understand survival until they're actually thrown into a situation and they don't know what to do, they're going to do crazy things because they haven't thought about it in the past. They haven't made any kind of a plan. What I want you to do is, we're discussing these things, I want you to start generating a safety plan for your family, and maybe start thinking about your neighborhood. Maybe you live in a subdivision where you can find 4 or 5 dudes that feel the same way you do, and you can start generating a safety plan and a core group of people that are willing to help each other out. If you live in a more rural area, it starts to get a little bit more difficult. Now, I know there's a lot of folks that say, well, I'm in a rural, I live out in the country. I got 50 acres. I've got nothing to worry about. You're fooling yourself. You're absolutely fooling yourself. Because just because you're out in the middle of nowhere doesn't mean people can't find your house and won't do what it takes to survive. Okay, I made a comment on X earlier today that there's only 2 kind of men. And this might be right. This is just my own finite philosophy. That's a good idea, finite philosophy. Maybe I should hashtag that phrase, right? Finite philosophy. There's only 2 kinds of men. There's cowards and there's monsters. Okay? Cowards just let things happen. In the monster category, there's 2 different categories within the monster category. There's a monster that will do whatever it takes to generate fear and cause pain. The other kind of monster is the one that is let loose to keep somebody safe. Now, I feel as fathers and as men, we need to be that second monster. The one that's perfectly polite, but has a plan to kill everybody in the room if necessary. Right? Isn't that the James Bond quote? We need to create a monster within us, and then we have to control that monster. That's what makes a hero. That's what makes a man, is the one that can control the monster and use the violence when necessary. Maybe you agree with that philosophy, maybe you don't. But let's talk about it. So, like I said, watching the Ukraine war, I've been thinking a lot about this, and I think I've made mention of this in a couple of previous episodes. I'm gonna bring something up here. So, watching the drone warfare and how we looked at drones, from the global war on terror. We're thinking, $20 million drones that can launch a rocket from whatever 20 miles away and make a kill. But the Ukraine conflict has shown that you can take a $200 or $300 drone and turn that into a very precise weapon. And we're seeing that a lot. But as the Ukrainian people and the Russian, not people, but the Ukrainian fighters and the Russian fighters started to understand, I guess the Russians, because the Ukrainians are using them against the Russians, is their rifles were almost useless against these drones unless you got a lucky shot. I think there was one dude that threw his rifle up at the drone just at the right time and happened to detonate the explosive on the drone. Complete luck. But there were some that understood how to hunt fowl, birds, right? And so they started implementing. Does this have alcohol in it? Implementing shotguns as a device to fight against the drones. Does it work every time? No, absolutely not. But it was something that they could incorporate. So that made me think a lot. Now, you can spend a ton of money. Well, I guess I'll bring this up first. Okay, so this is a micro chest rig that I decided to set up. Now, these are just shotgun cards, which means, I got one right here. So you can buy these. They have a adhesive on one side of the Velcro. You can actually stick that to the side of your shotgun, and then it's just hook and loop, and you can put your shells in there, and then stick it to the side of your shotgun and pull the shells out as necessary. So what I decided to do, and you've seen these before, maybe you haven't, is just set up a micro chest rig. I'm sorry, if I'm looking up here, it's because that's my monitor. I can see what's going on. I got to make sure I get it in the right shot. So I bought just, because I want to have a proof of concept to make sure this works, I just bought a cheap chest rig with a bunch of shotgun cards just to see how it works. Now, I haven't gone shooting with this yet. I will. I'm going to test this out with my shotgun. But the shotgun is a super versatile tool when it comes to home defense, hunting, or whatever, maybe even drone deterrent or whatever. So I wanted to check this out. So this cheap chest rig has Velcro on here that I could test out, and I could start layering on these shot cards. And then as I'm needed, I could pull these off. There's others out there. This, like I said, this was a super cheap thing because I needed a proof of concept. I could set this up to run some AR mags inside this utility pouch, or just keep it as whatever. Now, I'm trying to think outside the box. I've wanted to set up a quality micro chest rig for a very long time, and I finally decided to bite the bullet just to see how it works. This is literally a piece of junk, but I didn't want to go spend, $300 on a Mayflower or a Haley Strategic or something just to be disappointed. So I'm going to take that to the range. We're going to do some drills with it. We're going to see how it goes. Let me show you my shotgun that I set. So, completely empty. Nothing. Okay, yes, I do know I have some live shot on the side. We're not going to put these in there. Now, this shotgun was set up before I even thought about those Velcro shot cards. So I have a side saddle here. I don't remember what brand of side saddle this is. Yes, I know this optic doesn't really work on here. This was on an AK that I had I think I had it on the AK for like a month before I sold the gun. But I kept the optic just because. So I decided to throw it on the shotgun. So this color, I actually Cerakoted this myself. It's just a mix of a bunch of different colors, and it turned out, I don't know if you can see it. It just kind of looks black on my monitor. I don't know if you can see it or not on your, but it turned out cool. This reminds me of, like, if you were a G.I. Joe fan, it looks like the Cobra blue color, kind of. I don't have a sling yet for this. This is honestly sat in the safe with this current setup for quite a while. Once I started thinking about running a chest rig for a shotgun, I decided I needed to add a few things. So I've got a sling coming. I just put on the sling mount. It's just a Magpul sling mount. We're not going to talk about speed reloads or any kind of that stuff with the shotgun as is concerned. The University of YouTube is flooded with that kind of content. And honestly, there's a lot of dudes that could do it way better than I can. Do I want to take some shotgun classes? Absolutely. Like I said, I really feel like the shotgun is probably going to be the one of the most versatile tools that you can have as far as a defensive firearm. You can hunt with it, whether it be birds or medium sized game, deer, that kind of thing, or you can use it for home defense. These particular shells I have on here, I think these are the Hornady. Nope, these are the Winchesters. Um, they have a monster slug in there. I can't remember for sure. It's been a while since I've actually shot these shells. Once I set up this gun, I patterned it forever ago. I'm talking like probably 2017, maybe 2018, and that was the last time this gun was shot. So I need to take it out on its paces again. Magpul furniture, because I feel like that is the most ergonomic and makes the most sense. Shotgun is a great idea to have handy. I guess while we're on the subject of firearms, I want to talk about the 4 fundamental firearm safety rules. Whenever we talk about guns, I try to make sure that I bring these to the forefront so they're stuck in your mind and they help me retain them as well. So first of all, no matter what, we're going to treat every firearm as if it's loaded all the time, no exceptions. Because we're going to treat it just like it's loaded, we are never, ever going to point that gun at something that we are not willing to destroy, okay? We're going to keep our finger off of the trigger, outside of the trigger guard, along the side of the firearm, until we have made the conscious decision to fire. And then we want to know what our target is, what's in front of it, and what's beyond it. Now, those firearm safety rules are universal no matter what platform you are using. Please commit those to memory if you haven't yet. And if you think about it, there's really kind of a flow to them anyways, right? Let's go through them again. There, if you hear it, you'll see there's a flow to how these things work. We're going to treat it like it's loaded, okay? Because we're going to treat it like it's loaded, we're not going to point it at something that we don't want to destroy. Obviously, we're going to keep our finger off the trigger until we've made that decision to fire. And then I need to know where that bullet's going to end up. So obviously, I want to know what's in front and what's beyond my target. Commit those to memory, please. Safety is a huge deal to me. I think you guys know, not only do I do podcasting, not only am I have a normal day job, but I'm a firearms educator as well. I've taught a lot of classes. I've taken a few classes, not as many as I want to. Safety is a huge deal to me, because that's really is the premier, the most important thing about shooting guns is being safe. The second most important is having fun. If we're not being safe, we're not going to be having fun, because bad things will happen. Now that we've talked about shotguns or introducing firearms into our security plan, we need to think about what kind of a platform we need to be running as far as distances and perimeters, or location, okay? We need to think about, as we develop our security plan for our home, obviously you want layers of security. So this is not like a end-all be-all of a security plan for your home. You need to create layers of security. Now, what do I mean by layers? You've probably heard that before, but we're going to talk about it again. The more notice we have of a threat, the more ready we're going to be for any kind of conflict or encounter. So if you live down a long driveway, having some kind of a camera system and maybe some laser, whatever, that when somebody crosses that laser beam, it sets off an alarm. That's obviously a great plan. It's harder if you have a lot of property to create something like that. But if you can still at least put cameras around your home, or any kind of closer perimeter to your home that makes sense, that's financially feasible, obviously that's a good plan. If you're like me, I don't have a lot of money to spend on security systems like that, which obviously are a great, not only a layer of security, but a deterrent. But I do have dogs, which I still think, I mean, dogs have been man's security system for eons. So if you have the means to have a good dog in your home, obviously that's a great choice. Dogs see things, hear things, and smell things better than we ever will. My dogs seem to freaking know when somebody's down the street, a quarter mile away. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. Dogs are also a great deterrent, especially if they have a big, scary sounding bark at the minimum. When somebody tries to do something and they hear a big, deep bark, they may think twice about causing any issues with your home. There's other security levels out there, but those are just some things that you should be aware of. Again, this is not a comprehensive plan. This is not something that I'm saying do this and do that and then do this. There are tons of videos out there that you should consider and watch that honestly probably articulate it better than I can. All right, let's move on to something else I've been thinking a lot about, and that is getting to my home. A bug-in bag, I guess, or a truck gun. So this is one of my options that I've come up with. Please hold. So as I develop that chest rig, I kind of want to develop the same thing for a truck gun. Something that has at least 90 rounds, maybe more. I know 90 rounds is not very much. If you're in any kind of a shootout, 90 rounds is going to go super quick. For my mind, I don't want my chest rig, if it's for my rifle, I don't want to clutter it with pistol mags. Maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me why I'm wrong. I probably am wrong. But for me, I want to just keep it simple, something that I can throw on that is not going to be cluttered up. Something that has at least 3 magazines. Maybe I can have 6 in there for good measure. But I also want it to carry some other stuff. Something that that shotgun chest rig has is it's got a lower patch, a dangler, or whatever you want to call it, that I could throw in an IFAK with a tourniquet and some other things. Something that I can use in case I get hurt. The same concept I feel in my mind as I see it, that I'd want that for a rifle chest rig. It's not going to have something with plates. It's something I want to be agile and quick with, and something I can keep in my pickup if I need to, and roll with a gun. So, would I put a handgun as a truck gun? Possibly. Each condition is different. I don't know if I'm going to just leave a Glock 17 sitting in a holster. Maybe I would. I don't know. Maybe I do have one now. Maybe I better check my glove box. Maybe I still got one in there. I don't know. Just kidding. I don't. I know where all my guns are. I'm not that irresponsible. Honestly, in my opinion, a handgun is what you use to get to a rifle. A rifle is going to be much more effective at stopping a threat than a handgun will, especially if you can hit, defeat armor if you need to. You're going to be a little bit more accurate as far as your sight radius. You're going to have more velocity out of the projectile, which will increase damage on a bad guy if necessary. So there's lots of reasons to have a truck rifle. I'm not going to go and throw in something huge as far as my truck rifle is concerned. It's clear, other than my strap. All right, see, look, it's clear. Nothing. Okay, it's an empty magazine. Why didn't I throw a red dot or something on this? This is just an air pistol. See the brace. I actually, as I smack my mic around. Now, out of comfort, I threw some hockey tape around the arm brace version. That's a CAC, I think, anyways. And also the grip. I want to be able to make sure I have a good purchase on the grip. And because of my facial hair, sometimes running these, whether it be a stock or in this case an arm brace, sometimes your hairs get stuck in there. It's a bearded guy thing. But again, why didn't I throw an optic on here? So because temperatures swing wildly where I live. Some days it's really hot, and then in a couple of weeks it gets really, really cold. Temperature swings cause havoc with your batteries. So there's that. Unless, I guess I could throw a hollow sun or something on there. It's got a little solar panel thing. Sure, you could do that. But why not just go standard iron sights that give you, they don't run out of batteries, okay? Yeah, I know it might be a little bit more difficult. Hiding my face. Might be a little bit more difficult to run iron sights if you're not used to it, but that comes with time behind the firearm, right? So that's my reasoning behind not putting any kind of optic on here. Should I? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Also, the bigger the footprint, the harder it is to conceal in your vehicle. Yes, I know this is just an Anderson lower. Okay, I get that. Uh, is this a full-on battle rifle? No. Is this something that's going to get the job done when I need it to? Maybe, as long as I'm not in a 6-day firefight, I should be all right. The idea, the concept in my mind is for me to fight my way home if I need to. Unless I'm, 1,000 miles away, that might be a little tough. It's just to get uh, out of harm for me to get home and get to my other life-saving tools and my family to keep them safe. The other thing is if you are not running any sort of sling on your long guns, you're missing out. A holster to a handgun is a sling to the rifle. Okay, so you need a way to not be married to the rifle if you need to get to your hands. Okay, you don't want to ever set your firearm down for any reason whatsoever. So a sling allows you to keep that firearm on your person and work with your hands if you need to. Stop thinking that you'll just carry the rifle everywhere you go. You're not going to want to do that if you're humping across somewhere trying to run. You're just not going to want to do that. You're going to need a rifle sling to keep that on your person. Okay, and learn. Here's another thing that people don't understand: take some kind of a carbine class, because running a rifle is different than running a handgun, especially when it comes to manipulating in and out of this sling, or transitioning from left shoulder to right shoulder, or learning how to shoot, approach doorways and back up and shoot into those doorways in a specific way, or standing up to prone. There's things you got to think about. Running a rifle is a little bit different than a handgun, okay? And yes, it's okay to buy less expensive firearms, especially if it's a truck gun. Do that with what you will. So we talked about a little bit of a philosophy of a truck gun. And again, I like the idea of having some kind of a micro chest rig, or maybe something with a little bit more firepower, like say maybe 6 mags. Obviously, that's not going to be enough for a firefight, but at least it's something. And it's up to you. Maybe I'm wrong about the handgun mags on the chest rig. I would rather have some kind of a battle belt system accompanied with that I could put my handgun with in my truck gun. Can I afford to throw in a battle belt in every vehicle? No, I can't. I'm broke. And things are just getting tighter and tighter for everybody. But maybe you can figure something out. I'm going to show you something here in a second that might surprise you with how inexpensive it really was. Where was I going with that? Oh, something else to think about in your vehicle. So in every one of my vehicles, I have set up some sort of a box. I just call it a truck box. It has oil. It has a tire pump. It has flares, emergency blankets, that kind of thing. So if something was to happen, if I get stranded, or if I have a flat tire, if I need, something, that usually I have some kind of a small tool set in there in case I need to try and repair something. I don't like the idea, especially in an emergency situation, of being stranded. I don't want to have to leave my vehicle if I don't need to. Does that make sense? If I want to get home in an emergency, I want to get home. I don't want to have to walk 20, 30 miles because I'm on a job site and I need to rush home. Would I if I had to? Yeah, absolutely. But if I can shorten that time and save some energy by repairing something and driving home, that makes way more sense. Something else you want to consider is having some kind of food or snacks and water in your vehicle. We're coming close to winter time. Now, where I live, winter is brutal. It gets cold. It's not uncommon for us to be sub-zero for many, many days, especially later in the wintertime, January, February. I've worked on buildings where it was 20, 25 below zero. I'm not exaggerating. I've worked in extremely cold weather. Think about trying to survive in a vehicle when it's that cold. That's why I'm talking about survival blankets, a regular blanket, some warmer clothes, a jacket, some gloves. Think about what you encounter during the year, and incorporate that into your truck box. That means you're going to have to change things out periodically to meet the needs that you have. So you have to really be paying attention to what's going on, weekly or monthly, or at least quarterly, so you're updating with what you have. Now, I mentioned one of the reasons why I don't necessarily want to throw an optic on my rifle as far as a truck gun. The same reason applies to ammunition. So listen to me. This is a big deal that I feel like a lot of people neglect and don't think about. Where I live, again, we have extremes. We get super hot in the summertime and super cold in the wintertime. If you're leaving ammunition in your vehicle and we get these humidity and temperature fluctuations, that could cause issue with how the ammunition functions. Not only that, if you've got loose rounds in the glove box and they're rolling around, bashing back and forth, it is tumbling the powder and it's pulverizing it, and it's going to change the burn rate in that powder, which could be catastrophic for your firearm. Don't just throw 6 mags in your chest rig, throw it under your seat with your rifle, and leave it there for 3 years and just hope that it's going to run when you need it to. Okay? That means you need to probably shooting that ammo. Again, it's up to you, but I wouldn't leave it there 1, 2, 3 years in a row. You could be creating a hazard for you when it's time to save your life. You might be screwed. Just think about that as well. So let's say we're in a scenario. I'm able to get home. I have my truck gun. I'm able to use that to defend my life. I get home to defend my family. Do I want to choose my shotgun, or do I want to choose a rifle in some kind of end of the world scenario? That's kind of dependent on what the situations are. So distance is a thing. Ammunition quantity is a thing. How many rounds I want to keep on my person is a thing. You saw that shotgun chest rig. Now I've got, there's 30 rounds. I can carry 30 shot shells on that chest rig. And plus, if I have a shot card mounted to the side of my shotgun, so I've got 35 rounds on the chest rig. Could I leave some loose rounds in a bag or something? Sure, absolutely. But I got to be training to understand how to get to those rounds and get them in the gun as quickly as possible. Okay? This isn't just something I'm not going to watch John Wick when he's fighting in the sewers and think, yep, I can do that. That's not how it works. Okay? You have to be training and taking training from good, competent instructors. Shotgun's kind of a dying breed. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of dudes out there that are really teaching it anymore. Yeah, there's a few, Clint Smith, and there's another guy, I can't think of his name all of a sudden. Anyway, there are some dudes out there, but it's kind of a dying breed. Maybe I'm wrong, but there's not a lot of guys, at least around me, that are willing to teach some good tactical shotgun training. I think, again, it's a pretty versatile tool. So, again, back to the scenario. Do I choose my shotgun, or do I choose a longer barreled rifle? So this is one of my. So again, this is nothing really special. This is a rifle that I spray painted myself. No, it's not Cerakote. Yes, I did Cerakote my several of my other guns, but this one I just tried the old rattle can, and actually it worked surprisingly well. I've even cleaned this rifle with solvent. There's a couple spots where the paint has come off. I actually primed this rifle first, and then used a laundry bag and created like a snakeskin pattern. We'll talk about, we don't have to. Actually, there's so many spray paint tutorials on YouTube. Just go find them. We're not going to talk about that. Just think about this. You want your darker colors on top and your lighter colors on bottom. Okay, that's the biggest scenario to think about when it comes to spray painting. I just have a simple red dot on this particular rifle. Do I have other rifles that have LPVOs? Maybe. Maybe that's for me to know and you to not find out. there's a lot of different options. Again, this isn't going to be sitting anywhere other than in a controlled humidity and temperature safe. So I'm not too worried about the battery life. Should I be checking it every so often? Yes, absolutely. Should I keep extra batteries around? Yes, absolutely. But this is something that is a little bit more, I can reach out there a little ways with this. Do I have other rifles that I can reach out a little bit farther? Yes, absolutely. This would be something I would consider to be, you know, a problem solver within distance. Now, we think about rifle barrel, right? The nice thing about an AR pistol is that shorter barrel lets you maneuver through obstacles easier. You're not smacking that muzzle against things, so it's something you're gonna have to weigh out yourself. Uh, do you need a 16-inch barrel? Sure, why not? Do you need something that'll reach out 800 yards? Sure, why not? Is it anyone's business what you have in your gun safe? No, it's something that you get to decide and create that plan for yourself. Stay, don't fall, don't fall. Good boy. So there's just three of the long gun possibilities that you can keep around for your own security. I don't know what your house looks like that. I don't know what your property is like. I don't know if you live in an apartment. I can't create or give you a detailed plan for your own security. That's something that you have to generate yourself. Warrior Poets talked about this. I think there's a few others that have kind of talked about creating a good safety plan. Watch those videos. Like I say, they'll be able to articulate it way better than I can, especially where I'm still sick and apparently intoxicated by my ginger beer. So good. Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about this next. Thanks for being patient. So I think I talked about last episode. I bought some stuff from Zero Foxtrot. So I really wanted to get a better battle belt setup. Now, this isn't really a high end battle belt by any means. There's some quirks that I really don't like about this belt. $60 is pretty inexpensive for what it is, but it's got an inner belt that's pretty firm, and then a hook and loop load bearing belt thing, I guess you'd call it. Goes against your body with some non-slip material. Easy for you to say. So as I was going through, I was really wanting some good magazine pouches. Now you can spend a lot of money on magazine pouches, and I really did think about it. There was a few things I really wanted to try out. One of the ideas that caught my eye were the tacos. And I could buy cheap ones off Amazon. I know we talked about buying a cheap vest off Amazon, but I didn't want to. I wanted something a little bit more dependable, robust. After looking at that chest rig, I realized that, man, I don't want to just waste money on mags, because even though, I have 4 pistol mags and 2 rifle mags on this belt, that's going to cost me more money than it's worth for shitty mag holders that I'm just going to complain about. Could you go to eBay and find something a little bit more expensive? Sure. Could I go to, jump online to Haley Strategic or some of those other companies and spend a lot of money? Yeah, absolutely. You can spend a ton of money. And I still want to go that route at some point, but I'm just a poor white dude, okay? But I did find something that I felt like was a good answer, honestly. So I have access to a 3D printer, which a lot of people do nowadays. So I decided to look for some files. And honestly, I did not think I would find the file that I was hoping for. But somebody created a taco style mag pouch. So I printed 4 pistol mag pouches, and they're actually pretty sturdy, honestly. I'm not gonna lie. So a couple of those I have like a blue insert just because that's the filament I had handy to me, and then I did a couple just all black ones as well. So those 2 outside ones are all black. I didn't 3D print my flashlight holster. I purchased that forever ago. The guy that created the file created some for rifle mags, And he says these will fit 308 mags. No, they're too small for that unless you change the file a little bit to accommodate. But I was actually surprised to hear. I mean, they actually click in. There's a little spot for the oh man, I cannot talk, fellas. There's retention on these taco mags pouches. Gosh, dang, dude. But listen to this. Oh, it doesn't do it. But anyway, it doesn't fall out. There's serious retention there. So with the file, I mean, that is just the 3D printed parts. I had to buy the stretch cord, and I had to buy some attachments to hook it to the MOLLE of the belt. All in all, though, with these 6 pouches and with the material that I'm into and time, because, you know, time is valuable as well. My stretchy cable, this, I don't know what it's called. Bungee stuff, whatever. You know what I'm saying. I found that with a bunch of these little squeeze things that go on the end of it for like 50 feet in a whole bunch of little buckles. It was like $10. And I'm talking a whole bunch. And then for the MOLLE stuff is just some 2-sided Velcro straps. So I bought some 3M strap. I think I was $13 in 100 feet of that. And then the filament for all these, I think for these 6 pouches, I'm probably under $40. And then my time, which really didn't take much time to figure out how to string them up together and put them on my belt. So there is an affordable option out there. Is it glamorous? Is it high-speed, cool guy stuff? No, it's not. But some of the stuff, again, was kind of a proof of concept for me to see how it worked. There's a lot of other files available. Those were just free files I found on those taco pouches. So I was totally down with trying them. And they, like say, you put a full mag in there, they actually retain that mag pretty well. Because of the bungee string that's on there, I can cinch that down and put quite a bit of pressure on that setup. I'm pleased with it so far. I'll get some videos at some point of me actually working that belt, doing some drills, seeing how it goes. I know I'm going to find things I absolutely hate about that setup. I just know there is. Anytime you create a new setup, there's things you got to work with and figure it out. Yep, that was one of my guns. Just hit the ground. Battle worn, right? Battle worn. So, hopefully, I know we were going to talk, I talked about preparedness, and hopefully you understand why I'm talking about firearm preparedness here. Again, this world is getting crazy. People do desperate things when times are tough. After looking at those hurricanes and looking at the devastation from between the hurricane and the landslide, and then the lack of resources, you start to see how desperate people can be. Even though it's easy for us to say that aren't dealing with that kind of stuff, is, well, they should have figured it out. You're right, they should have figured it out. They should have made plans previous. But sometimes all the plans that we make, they don't work as well. They don't work the way we think we want it. Just like if I just set up that chest rig and that belt and just left it and decided, well, it's good enough, and I don't test it until I need it, that's a very poor choice. You need to be running those things. You need to be, and I didn't shut my phone up. Whenever you make a change to your setup, you need to try it out. You need to make sure it works. Whenever you put a rifle sling on your rifle, you need to run that gun like you would for reals. Whenever you buy a new handgun, whenever you buy a new holster, you need to be putting those things through a stress test to make sure that they're going to work when you need them to work. Whenever you incorporate new self-defense ammo in your handgun, you need to make sure that runs through your handgun. I think we've talked about this before, but not all handguns will eat self-defense ammo the way you think they will. And it could be the same brand. You could have 2 Glock 19s next to each other, and one might really like the gold dots and whatever 115 grain, and the other one might not cycle at all. You need to make sure that you're testing and and retesting and testing again your life-saving equipment to know that it's going to work when you need it to work. The next thing I guess we could kind of touch on is first aid. Always, always, always have some kind of medical equipment with you, always. So again, in my truck boxes that we talked about earlier, sometimes I'll throw some med stuff in there. I don't think I've shown you guys, but I bought, actually it's a fanny pack that was on sale at Under Armour. Nothing real glamorous, just a stupid fanny pack, pretty benign looking. I could actually use that as a holster setup if I wanted to. I don't want to. I think it's that's the wrong thing for me. But I did decide to turn that fanny pack into an IFAK. And when I travel, I just chuck that in the car. When I go to the range, I have the one that's on, I didn't put it on this belt, but I have one that goes on my battle belt. It's always good to have that kind of medical equipment. Now, I want to talk about two more things and then we'll be done. You can have all the equipment in the world. You could have all the cool guy stuff. You could have top of the line, everything. It is completely worthless to you if you don't train on how to use those systems, whether it be handgun, shotgun, long gun, first aid, mountaineering, any of that stuff. If you can't use what you have, somebody else is going to have a sweet setup. Hopefully you picked up on what I just said there. Learn how to use the resources that you have. Buy the best equipment that you can afford and use it and understand it. There's a reason why, let me grab this rifle again. There's a reason why I stick hockey tape on this brace. Because whenever I go out and shoot and I get my hair stuck in that stupid thing, it sucks. It sucks a lot. So I'm going to take a little bit of that suck away because I've tried it. I've messed with this gun. I know how it feels to shoot. Okay? Learn your equipment. Learn how to use what you have. Because it is completely worthless to you if you don't understand it. Especially when it comes to medical. Please get some good, solid stop the bleed. TCCC, something. Get some good, solid training. You're far more likely to need medical than you are going to need to use a gun. Okay? That's just the way it is. So there's the one thing I want to talk about. What was that? Oh, when creating a plan, think of the KISS, right, analogy. Keep it simple, stupid. The more complicated your safety plan is, the less likely you are going to be to execute it. Because it's going to be, oh shoot, did I do this step and then this step? Was this step first? What? I forgot what I was doing. Try and keep it as simple as possible so that it's executable. Okay? Don't overcomplicate your stuff. We'll talk about food. So I guess there's three things. Let's touch a bit on food storage, and I think a good resource to give you some direction on that. So let's talk about that real quick. So I want to talk about food storage real quick, and then I promise this is where we're going to stop, and then I want you to start generating some kind of a plan for yourself. Start evaluating. Man, I can really not talk tonight. Start evaluating where you're at. Create a plan that works for you and your family. You need to include your family in this, in generating the safety plan, so you can execute it to exactness. So let's talk about food storage super quick, and then like I said, we're gonna end. I'm really tired, and I'm still sick, and I'll just so you guys know, I passed out 3 times a couple days ago, so it's kind of frustrating. I'm still kind of figuring out what the hell's wrong with me, but it is what it is. That's not a crutch. That's just is reality. So I'm going to share something with you guys. And to preface this, I want you to put your bigotry away, put your ego away, and just take this content for what it is. Okay? This is a fantastic resource. You can think what you want about this organization, but grow up. Okay, we're all Americans and we're all into this together. This resource is fantastic. So I want you to write this down or to remember this as best as you can. Okay, this is churchofjesuschrist.org, LDS Church, the Mormons, whatever you want to talk about it. I am a Mormon. So if you don't like that, get stuffed. I don't care what you think about me. I'm still me. You're still you. We still can be friends. So whatever you have, if you don't like that, I don't care. There, I said it. This is a fantastic resource for you if you're trying to generate a good food storage plan. So members of the church have been talking about food storage for as long as I can remember. In fact, it was before I was even born. They talked about doing a good food storage plan, and how to store food has evolved immensely over the years, how to safely store food. This is a fantastic resource, okay? churchofjesuschrist.org is the website, and then you just type in this little search bar up here, type in emergency preparedness, and it brings you to this, okay? So look at all these options that you have, okay? Preparing for an emergency food storage, importance of food storage, what kind of food should I store, how much food should I store, where should I store it, where can I buy food storage, how much does it going to cost me. Then it's got a bunch of other links under that. Plus, if you look under this, what is it called, a hamburger or whatever on this left side, there's a ton of stuff, okay? Including making an emergency plan. Now, I understand not everybody agrees with the church. I totally get that. But look at this as a resource. And if you're letting your negative reflection of a religious organization get in the way of being prepared, you're an idiot. Take as many resources as you can and utilize those to help develop your own plan. I'm not saying that the church's way is the only way. It's not. In fact, there's a lot of resources available otherwise that can help you develop that plan as well. I just wanted to show you this resource so you understand and you see that there's ways to springboard your preparedness. Maybe you're somebody that's a young family that's just starting out that doesn't know where to start. This website can help you. I promise you that. There's a lot of other resources out there as well. I agree. But don't just discount it because it's the Mormons, okay? We've been doing food storage for a long, long time, and it's worth it understanding. Another thing, I had a lot of people say, "Well, I'll just come take your food storage." Well, you can try, and maybe you'll succeed, but you're gonna have holes in you that you're gonna have to take care of before I give up a fight. So just so you know. It's not going to work the way you want it to. A lot of us boys out here in the West, we hunt. We know how to stalk. We know how camouflage works, and we know where to. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. May not go as ways what you think it will. All right. So that's it. There's my conversation on emergency preparedness. Again, look at the examples of what's going on in Tennessee and in North Carolina and see how the government is helping. Okay. Also look how the community is helping. Notice that neighbors and Americans and people coming from all other states are going over there to help, and the government is really not doing that much. There's the reality. Okay. As we develop our life-saving skills, we can help our families and our communities get past these tragedies that will happen. And it may not be an environmental or weather tragedy. It might be something worse. It might be like the peaceful riots that we saw. There's ways that the communities can come together to overcome those things, because in reality, when shit hits the fan, the cops may not be there to help you. Emergency services may not be there to help you. It's up to us to be our immediate responders. Get good training. Please get good, solid medical training and learn how to use more than Band-Aids and tourniquets. Start understanding how to stuff wounds, how to um, there's more to it. Okay, there's more to it. You might have to use a chest seal. You might have to run a nasopharyngeal, I think it's called, the nasal tube. Right? There's more to it than just applying pressure. Learn those skills. Learn good firearm skills. Take some solid classes. Don't just take a concealed carry class and say, I'm done, because that is not even close to the reality of what you're going to need. Take a good carbine class. Take a sweet shotgun class. Like, I really am trying to find a good solid shotgun class in my area. Take a little bit more handgun stuff. Learn how your holster works. Do a ton of dry firing. Find some people to go shooting with. Create a good network of people that have all sorts of different skills that you guys can depend on each other, because we need each other to make it through these hard times that are coming, and they are coming. When it comes to developing a good safety plan, look at all the resources available, okay? Again, YouTube has a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that's becoming censored because it's dangerous information or whatever. Find some good books. I wish I would have dug out some of the books I have. Oh, one of the best resources, not the best, but a very good resource that you can find is look for old Boy Scout manuals. I'm talking stuff like from probably 80s and older, 1980s and older. You're going to have some good information. Some of that stuff is outdated, I get it, but they teach some solid survival skills in those books that are really written in a way that are easy to understand. There's also a ton, just a plethora of other survival skill books out there. If you have the means to take some awesome survival classes, some wilderness survival classes, those can definitely come in handy as well. Just find ways to broaden your horizon and find people to share that information with. Okay, it's important. We can do it. We can make it through these hard times, and I do believe things are gonna only get worse before they get worse. So please spend time with your spouse, with your families. Create a good, solid safety plan. Have those tiers or perimeters of safety around your home. Think of how you're gonna, if you have to find ways to get home in an emergency, that you can get home. And then just think of all these different scenarios and think about how you're going to overcome those scenarios. We have to inoculate ourselves from the stress, so when that happens, we can make good decisions and keep things as simple as possible. Okay, that's it. I love you guys. I want you to know that I really appreciate the time that you spend with me. I know a lot of times I'm pretty boring and I ramble on a lot like I am right now, but I do appreciate your time. If you want to help support the show, there's patches available. You can direct message me, whether it be on Facebook or Instagram. I hardly use TikTok anymore, but I'm almost always on Twitter anymore. So you can send a DM on Twitter, figure out how you can acquire those patches. They're also available on eBay if that's easier for you. That's honestly easier for me too. So there's ways to support the show that way. Also, another big way to help me out is to share this content, especially if you feel like this is something that earned your like and share and subscription. Please do so. I appreciate everything you guys do. I want you to remember, we are a family. We are all children of liberty, if you will, that Washington saw in his dreams. We can do this together. We can make it no matter how hard times get. We're Americans, and Americans stick together. Also, be good stewards of the Second Amendment, and please take somebody shooting. Be safe, you guys.